Hey, folks, Matt Donald here. Once more, I'm here to advertise the Matthew Donald Patreon. We've got a couple new patrons. I'm glad people are actually listening to this thing. I appreciate the support. Our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Matthew Donald, we have bonus episodes for Paleobites, as well as the old episodes early and ad-free, because ads suck, but I need them to make money. So here's one, and you've already listened to another, I assume. Isn't capitalism great? Ryan Reynolds with his Mint Mobile. Our last episode, we talked about Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart because it had a dinosaur level. Last month, we talked once more about the obscure park builder game Dino Island, because I don't think we did it justice last time. That episode is still to come. Don't worry, it'll be arriving soon. And this month, we're going to talk about Nigel Marven's Sea Monsters, A Prehistoric Journey. Oh, it's going to be great. Such wonderful, wonderful stuff from our good old time-traveling paleontologist friend Nigel Marven. Good stuff. Link is in the description for you can sign up to the Patreon. Thank you for your support. Have a good day. Da, 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 ba,
Roar. Growl. Snarl. Bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast who plans to build a time machine and kick Tiktaalik back in the water for the good of the planet.
Oh, boy.
My name is Matthew Donald, and each week I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a different genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week I'm joined by someone who, like all of us, is a descendant of that Tiktaalik we're going to kick back in the water. It's Stephen Curro. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
It is indeed, isn't it? It's a nice day here in Colorado. It's starting to get it's still hot, but this is the last week where the sun sets after 8 p.m. here in Colorado. So
It was raining really hard in Fort Collins yesterday.
The weather's been a bit whatever, but it's nice that the heat's going to mostly go away for now, but then we're going to get some storms, and then it's going to be winter, and then we're always going to be upset about the season that we're in and wanting the season that we are not in.
It's weird because I despise winter, but when I worked in Mexico for 8 months, I actually missed winter more than I thought I would.
Snow is so pretty, but by God, it's hard to drive in.
Amen.
Like, I love looking at pictures of snow-covered roads and houses and trees. It's so peaceful.
Yes, I love watching snow with hot chocolate by a fire.
Yes. And like staying inside the house. Watching it while in the heat of my own home. See, my weird thing is summer is actually my favorite season because I like being cool.
What?
Yeah, it sounds counter to it. I'm talking about air conditioning.
Oh.
Because I'm an indoorsy kind of guy. So
Air conditioning is not something you have in winter.
No, it's not.
Okay.
In winter, you're either too hot or too cold, I mean. It's like, and sometimes both at the same time. Like I'm in my car and I'm driving somewhere in the winter, and since I'm only going somewhere for a bit, like to get food or something, I put my flip-flops on, and so my feet are freezing, but my body is warm because of the air from the car, and I'm like, hey, blood, isn't your job to distribute the heat around here? What are you doing? Why am I freezing in one place, burning hot in another? This isn't how it's supposed to be. We're warm-blooded for a reason. And speaking of, I don't know if this thing was warm-blooded, but it was on the path. We're talking about a creature that I had learned about somewhat recently, but it's in a group that I think deserves more exploring. I've been wanting to do more Paleozoic critters here for a while, and so we're talking about Anteosaurus, or lizard of the mythological giant Antaios from Greek mythology.
Was it against something?
It was against Anteosaurus. It was against racism. Good on it.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So it was against racism and late stage capitalism. Saw those other Lystrosaurus, which again were a little bit. No, actually, no, this was in Late Permian, so maybe it would have counted some Lystrosaurus. So like, I can see what you guys are scheming. You're gonna have a bunch of you guys in the world at some point, and I don't like it. Infinite growth is not sustainable. And the Lystrosaurus learned that lesson later when they took over and then went away. Where does my mind go? What's wrong with me, Stephen?
So we need only look to the Paleozoic to solve our problems, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. Listen to the Anteosaurus, who's against racism and land stage capitalism. So,
what else do we know about this
it is a
progressive creature?
Type, it is a dinocephalian synapsid, a group of stem mammals, previously called mammal-like reptiles before the term became outdated. that ruled in the Permian times and was on the lineage towards true mammals. Dimetrodon, while closer related to us, is not one of our direct ancestors, but one of our more distant aunts or uncles.
Okay.
So, now this creature was 16 to 20 feet / 5 to 6 meters long, 11,000 to 1,300 pounds, 500 to 600 kilograms, making it the biggest known carnivorous non-mammalian synapsid of all time.
Dang.
Which, if that's too specific sounding, how about the fact it's also the largest terrestrial predator of the Permian?
Hello.
That one's a bit less silly.
More to the point, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm probably the biggest guy named Matt who's wrote books about dinosaurs with laser guns in the world, but maybe not.
I mean, when people talk about the Permian, I think most people just think about, oh, that was the time when everything almost died. And yes, that's true. But
yeah,
people don't realize what a rich ecosystem was around back there.
And also, it's kind of funny because like the dinocephalians as a group, when they were the ones that were the top predator of that time, but they were taken over by the gorgonopsids later in the Permian because there was a smaller extinction at not quite at the end of the Permian, a few million years before. That was probably due to an increase of volcanic activity from the Emetian traps in China. So there was a little bit of a smaller Paleozoic, a Permian extinction. That was like, that wiped out the dinocephalians and let the gorgonopsids take over. And then,
the big one.
But I'm sure that was the only bit of volcanic activity from East Asia, the late Permian, will have to deal with. So everyone can just calm down their doomsday panic. It's like, okay, they just, the Earth did a little fart over there. We're good now.
Nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about, guys. So, little they knew. It was a carnivore. Again, biggest non-carnivorian, non-mammalian synapsid. Pay attention.
There will be a quiz.
There will be a quiz on it tomorrow, and if you fail, you'll never get to listen to Paleobites again.
No.
The listeners are like, yes, finally, free of this burden. Time, late Permian, 265 to 260 million years ago. So in South Africa, like a lot of our late Permian fossils we found, because that's where the formation is. Described in 1921. Pop culture appearances, oddly, not a damn thing. We need more Paleozoic representation, guys.
Absolutely.
Like, I've looked around for it. You and I were even watching the Life on Our Planet documentary.
We couldn't quite find it. We found Anthracosaurus. Who the hell cares about that? I want Anteosaurus. Anthracosaurus. Sounds like a disease. Anthrax.
It does sound like a disease. You got to send Ozzy and Drix to go get rid of Thrax there.
There you go.
Oh, that's a obscure reference.
Folks, that just shows how old we are.
Oh, us millennials. Oh man. That's such a funny idea for a movie, a buddy cop movie with a white blood cell and a cold pill. What were they thinking? But it's a clever idea.
It was funny when I saw that as a kid. My mom she kind of had a cold and felt well enough to take me to the movie. And what's the movie about? It's about fighting a cold. And she was like, that was a horrible idea.
Oh, but that cold, the Thrax was so cool. He had like a leather jacket and sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
He was voiced by Lawrence Fishburne.
He looked really slick
He did look really slick.
Fatal disease.
Like he stroked his finger on that one place instead of the flame and then put his sunglasses on as the fire reflected in the sunglasses. He was a cool bad guy. Anyways, we're talking about the movie Osmosis Jones. And in case anyone doesn't know this, it's an obscure Warner Brothers half live action, half animated movie.
And it spun off into a cartoon series for a while.
Ozzy and Drix,
which was fun.
Where they were in a different body for some reason.
A mosquito bit them and sucked them up, and then
they tried
to bite the kid across the street who popped it, and then they wound up inside.
How'd the cold pill get? Did the cold pill get bitten by the mosquito?
Yeah, the mosquito sucked them both up.
Okay, I guess the cold. It's not like it's the whole capsule. The capsule isn't in the movie.
No, the capsule itself is like a spaceship.
Yeah, and then he comes down and
he's like a robot.
He's like, I'm here to examine your irritated area.
I love how the guy who voiced Drix is he was Niles on Frasier.
It's David. Oh, David Hyde Pierce.
If that's his name, right? Yeah.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He was, and then Osmosis was Chris Rock. So
yeah.
Well, what a weird ass movie.
It's so bizarre.
Anyways,
moving on.
That's what we talk about. There's no pop culture appearances of Anteosaurus, but there is an Anthracosaurus, which is like Thrax, which led us down that rabbit hole.
So Anteosaurus is the antibody of the Paleozoic.
Yes, it's against systematic racism and late stage capitalism and the antibodies, or no, the bodies, I should say, because it's Antaios.
What else do we know about this beast, Steve?
The largest known skull of Anteosaurus is 3 feet long, the same as the skull of Allosaurus. Since this was far smaller, it just had a really big head. Look at these big heads.
Something about the Paleozoic and really
They like those big heads. Go cry on your big pillow at night. Postcranial material is very rare, but we found a few isolated limb bones, phalanges, and vertebrae, which makes sense because when and I were looking at the Wikipedia thing, there was one depiction that had a really long tail, one depiction where it had a really short tail. Surely it had a really long tail if it had that big of a head, like just to balance it out.
That would make sense.
Yeah, although a lot of times they were very front heavy, so as well as having the big head, had the big arms.
Yeah, a lot of Paleozoic creatures, Paleozoic land animals look really disproportionate.
It's kind of like, often when you see depictions of a Cerberus, how they often are very front heavy too. Obviously, it makes sense they have 3 heads.
Right.
But because of that, they have big front legs and little back legs. I've often seen them depicted as. Have you ever seen that?
Cerberus was the prehistoric creature no one wants you to know about.
Yeah, the one with 3 heads. Well, I mean, this was the lizard of the mythological giant Antaios, so it's all Greek anyways.
There you go.
It had tiny horns on its head, Anteosaurus. And many different skulls had many different arrangements, meaning it might have been based on individuals. Kind of like, Styracosaurus or other ones like that. Styracosaurus, actually, there wasn't a set number of how many spikes it had on its frill. There's some we have found with 10, or some with 12, some with 7, some with 9.
I wonder what these little horns were for.
I don't know. Well, what they think that they might have used them to ram each other like bighorn sheep, using headbutting rather than their sharp teeth, not risk severe damage to each other, which is nice of them.
I mean, that would be
most
logical.
mammals do not fight, or animals don't fight to the death. Barely fight at all. They just roar and hope that a fight is usually a last resort.
Animals
nature.
really don't want to fight because that burns energy and puts you at risk.
Yeah, exactly. They like not dying, guys. As cool as it is to see a fight in movies of animals or whatever, it's like,
I always think it's rather brutal.
It is brutal. I mean, it's actually kind of funny in Jurassic World Dominion, the fight between the T-Rex and the Giganotosaurus back in prehistoric times actually opens up quite realistically. The Giganotosaurus headbutts the T-Rex, which is what we think they did. The Tyrannosaurus did. It's like it gives it the initial, and it's a quick fight then after that because it's like, because it wouldn't be a prolonged fight. Like the poor V-Rexes and the King Kong, as epic of a fight as that is, that's not what happens in nature.
Not usually.
The V-Rexes would give up way long before.
Also, I still want to know how T-Rex and Giganotosaurus met, but that's another story.
Movie science. I still think they should have replaced it with a Quetzalcoatlus. Made like that thing that
would have been different.
Standing upright, it would be as tall as T-Rex.
Yeah.
And it could poke it in the eye or something. And then plus, remember that scene in Dominion where they're all together and right at a research facility, and then the Giganotosaurus comes crawling through, like they see the silhouette of it through the moonlight.
Yeah.
Imagine that, but instead it's a freaking Quetzalcoatlus walking through. How horrifying!
Giant,
would
creepy,
that, like a Slender Man sort of.
Just slender. Well, giant pterosaurs are horrifying.
Yeah, just walking through the forest, you just see its fricked up silhouette with its big long beak and like its gangly limbs.
Ew.
Like it doesn't even have to fly to kill them.
Well, I mean, in Planet Dinosaur, there was that one episode. I forget what species it was. It wasn't Quetzalcoatlus. But
was it Hazagopteryx, the one from Romania?
Yeah, it was a giant pterosaur, and it murdered an entire nest of baby sauropods. And it was so traumatizing to watch.
See, Hazagopteryx. See, the in Romania, that place had a bunch of dwarf dinosaurs because the islands were so little. But one thing they had to watch out for was the giant Quetzalcoatlus, like the Hazagopteryx. That would come down and just pick up baby sauropods. It's horrifying. Why did we allow this, nature? It's a good thing they went extinct. I'm happy they did. Personally, anyways. Anteosaurus, though, hold on. Let me...
which is definitely not a pterosaur.
Anteosaurus, like tangents we've gone on today. Because we don't know Anteosaurus, but we're hoping now you know a little bit of it. So sort of like most, like a lot of other mammal-like reptiles, the teeth were not uniform like they were with dinosaurs. They had long incisors like canines and some smaller post-canines. So it had a little bit of like fangs like mammal teeth do. It's interesting how we can tell mammals between dinosaurs very often just by their teeth.
Just the teeth. Teeth are always good indicators. They're always specialized depending on what they're eating.
Exactly. Well, not just what they eat, but then like where they're related to. Like, right. Like, yeah. So,
and how, and like, the shape of the tooth also indicates the style of killing. Like an Allosaurus tooth is more knife-like, a T-Rex tooth is more post-like, and then you have these creatures where they have varied teeth.
Yeah, exactly. And then the one times that dinosaurs did have varied teeth, it's so notable they have to name the species after it, like Heterodontosaurus. Mm-hmm. So this is the paleoecology of the area. Glossopteris, the one tree I've done an episode on for this show because Natasha Crack insisted. And I was like, okay. No,
it's prehistoric.
It is. And also, Glossopteris was interesting because it's the reason why it's what started the form. Seeing all these Glossopteris fossils all throughout the southern parts of the world is what started the idea of continental drift. People started thinking about thanks to Glossopteris. So,
okay. Well, that's noteworthy.
Okay, so here are some of the creatures that lived alongside. There were other large predatory animals, Lycosuchids. Wow, I need to know more about the Paleozoic. It's fascinating. The Scalacos-therocephalian Gianosuchus. Hey, Mom, did you get that? Do you know what any of that means?
Lots of sucuses.
Yeah. Medium-sized carnivores were represented by the basal Baramorsuchian Hipposaurus.
What is that?
Hipposaurus!
An extinct basal therapsid.
It means horse lizard, though, not because hippo means horse.
It's so tiny.
It is. Oh, look at that. I need to do this with Laura Owsley. She loves hippos. Why is it called Hipposaurus?
Must vaguely resemble a horse.
A little horse. The Bullocephalus, the Scalacosaurus, and small basal. So gorgonopsids were starting to become a thing here, which makes sense because they wouldn't have just come from nowhere after the dinocephalians went extinct. So there was smaller and basal gorgonopsids like Erythrostoma.
Okay.
So it was like they were the smaller predators, and these are the big. Oh yeah, Mochops was around here.
Oh yes,
you guys know Mochops? It's weird. It's like those kind of weird gray alien thick creatures from the 50s. Imagine that head on like a big hippo body.
It literally looks something out of Star Wars.
It does. It's like you can see a Mandalorian riding one of these things.
You could, really.
Or like in that
it's this big heavy body and a small head. It's
small
just
head with a really short jaw.
They should have called it Derposaurus.
I'm Mochops. I'm just eating plants. I think it ate plants. One of them was a carnivore. I'm eating you.
I don't see how that thing could be a predator. It would be a very inefficient.
Blah, blah, blah. What's Mochops is just therapsids. What is dinocephalian? They were dinocephalians too. So like our Anteosaurus friends. So was it a carnivore? Oh, I'm eating you. Blah, blah.
I just don't see how that animal.
Its lead Mochops was a herbivore feeding on poor and I'm eating plants. I tried to eat something, but no one wanted to jump in my mouth.
No wonder the what do you call them?
Gorgonopsids.
The gorgonopsids ate them because they're so annoying.
Blah, blah, blah. That's just, if you look at Mochops, that's the voice it makes. It makes the Patrick Star face. Okay. See, this is why I need to know more about Paleozoic times, because the small to medium-sized forms of dinocephalians include the basal anomodonts, the non-dicynodonts, and What do you know any of this?
Actually, no.
I know dicynodonts. I've done a few episodes on some dicynodonts.
My specialty is in the Mesozoic.
Yeah.
The Paleozoic, I need to be more versed on myself.
Yep, Diectodont was a dicynodont. I know that one thanks to Walking with Monsters. And yeah, Prosodont, Eosamops, Robertia. Hey, that looks like Diectodon. I used that picture. What?
That's adorable.
Yeah, it is. That's the very same picture I used for the Diectodon episode.
That looks like the stereotypical, like in the 60s when they assumed everything prehistoric had saber teeth.
Yeah.
It looks like a lizard with saber teeth.
It looks like a saber-toothed naked mole rat. Okay. So, all right. So, the Titanosuchus, that's a different one. Titanophonius, that's also different. Anteosaurus preyed upon the big fat lizard Mochops, was a giant dinocephalian, and had a long tail probably, and a big head definitely.
And did not like racism.
It did not like racism or late-stage capitalism. Because of that, I'm rating it like 60 out of 60 million. 65 million.
60 million.
Yeah, screw racism and late stage capitalism.
I'll give it.
But it also screw those Mochops, and I hope it tore them apart. Oh, I'm being torn apart.
I'll give it 60,500,000.
60. Wow. Okay. Very specific.
Yes.
It's because I had a big head.
It's just a very weird animal.
Very weird time. Everything
Yeah.
crawled back then, I'd like to think. That's why I think the Mochops is like, oh, I'm running away from the Anteosaurus.
Could that thing even run? It would just be
No,
like,
that ran.
it would
like
shuffle.
this. Like,
I'm shuffling.
Run away, everyone.
Oh no.
Oh, watch out for the Anteosaurus. My Aunt Roberta got ate by one. So, excuse me, my Aunt Robertia. All right, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me at paleobytespodcast@gmail.com or paleobytespod on Twitter and paleobytespodcast on Instagram. Where can they find you?
You can find me at stephencurro.com. That's stephencurro.com, my official author's website. You can find links to my short stories, my novelette, and a few other things that I've been toying with.
Yes, including some dinosaur-related stuff. I also have a book series on Amazon, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle. No Anteosaurus. That was before when it takes place. As of right now, by the time this episode comes out, I will have 2 installments of my Teslanaut series out, Teslanauts and Teslamancer.
And what a series it is, folks.
So far, anyway, let's see if I stick the landing. I've got 3 more to go.
You got this.
I suppose so. We'll find out, though, won't we?
And something interesting occurs in book 2. Am I right?
Maybe dinosaur related. Maybe or maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, that's it for this week. I say at the end of every episode of Paleo Bites, hey, watch out for the Anteosaurus. Oh no, there's the Anteosaurus. Gotta slowly run away.
Gosh darn you, obnoxious.
Mochops.